Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another review, and today I'm going to be taking a look at another high-grade Gundam kit, and this right here is the high-grade after-war GX9900 Gundam X from the anime of the exact same name, After War Gundam X. This right here is a kit from 2010, but the anime itself is from the mid-90s, coming right after Gundam Wing, and I do feel a lot of the character designs, as well as the mobile suit designs, do share a lot when it does come to the overall designs. The mobile suit here is a great, simple, clean Gundam-style design, rocking one very unique feature, which is the massive satellite cannon around on its back, as well as those giant X-shaped reflector panels. Anyway, if you do want one of these of your own, I got mine from those awesome people over at Buy, so if you do want one, you will find one definitely on there, so I'll throw a link down there in the description. Anyway, let's check this thing out. Alright, so here we go. First off, we've got the box of the high-grade Gundam X right here, basically blasting off his signature cannon right there over its shoulder. On the sides of the box, we see what we're going to be seeing inside. There's a front and a rear image of what the kit will look like complete. Once again, blasting off the satellite cannon right there, flipping it around to the other side, and we got some idea of what we'll be seeing inside of the box. They didn't really show too much on the sides of the boxes back then, did they? Also, this is a blue label, so that does mean it is a reprint. And what it says here is we've got a hovering mode. Second image there is of the satellite cannon. Some information on the articulation in the shoulders, arms, and the chest, the hips, and finally a bit of the Gundam X in the pose. Now, we're not seeing too crazy poses on this, so I'm not sure how this will actually turn out when it is finally built. Anyway, busting open the box, and there isn't really a whole lot in here. So we've got 3 bags of runners in here, not too overly filled. And we do have the manual too. Next, have a little peek at the manual. This right here is your typical UC style manual. Even though this isn't from UC, I think it is part of the high-grade UC line. Around the back, we've got some images yet again of what it will look like finished, as well as the colors you will be needing if you do decide to paint it accurate to the anime. Once again, this is a pre-2016 kit, so it does mean there is no translation here. So if you want some more information about this particular kit, I always recommend jumping on over to the Gundam Wiki. And then when it does come to runners, there really is only 5 in here, so a simple kit with polycaps, as well as some beams. Wait, there's 6 runners, just one is really small. So first off in here, we're going to be taking a look at the leg, and this is a simple old school build. As you can see, we do have a simple polycap socket joint there for ball joint hips, which will limit the articulation. That is it for the knee bend, but I did notice a kind of odd, almost moddable part in it, and that is it for the foot. So again, very classic and very simple high grade here. You throw a polycap into the foot, and then the bottom pops in. We've got some very nice molding here, and not much movement, actually 0 movement, to the actual completed foot. When you're building the knee joint, this right here is what you get. And as you can see, there is a little bit of a section in there that blocks any more movement. So if you did actually carve that out and remove that little segment, you might get more out of the knee bend. The knee section we built just slots into the upper thigh armor like so, closes up. The lower leg is quite simple, as you can see, just 2 polycap sections. Simple design to the lower leg, just 2 polycaps sandwiched inside, some side detail in purple. Front armor attached on the front and hides the seam line entirely. You attach a joint in here like so. That gray section is a ABS part. And then you attach it all together by throwing this bit in like that. Ankle joint attaches in like so, and then you just finally pop on the leg. So as you can see, extremely simple high-grade build. On the surface of this, we are seeing some fairly nice pan lining though. It's not too much, but at the same time not too little, so you will be able to detail this up nicely. And there is a sticker included for this little triangular section here. It should be in red. The elbow joint in here is a very simple design, so it's just a 1-point bend. You attach it together, and that's what you get. Next up, you build the shoulder. We've got a bit of purple plastic sandwiched in between some white. This right here is the attachment to the shoulder. As you can see, it is locked in place, and we've got a polycap that will be attaching into the arm. All sandwiches in between, like so. You slap the forearm onto that, some purple detail, and then you put on the upper arm armor, shoulder attaches on, followed by the hand. So again, a very simple little limb right here, but it does what it needs to do. I will mention the purple plastic in here is quite likely to mark, and there are some mold lines going on in there that you might want to address. So next we're moving up to the waist unit. So this is the kind of front of it. We've got 2 polycaps for the side skirts. You then throw on the butt flap. You then throw the skirting and front armor on like so. We've got a polycap for up here. Bit of red detail up front, some purple detail for on the side skirts, and then they pop on there just like that. So what we've got is side skirts that can slide and swing forward and back, move up and down, front skirts that can move on ball joints like so, and a butt flap that does not move at all. Overall, a little on the plain side, we do have some panel lines there, but overall, gets the job done. The leg joint design in here is very simple. It is just a ball and socket like so that will be very limiting, especially when it comes to splits and some other poses. You then just jam that whole rig there up in there like that. Moving on to the torso now, and we're starting off with some red parts. I will mention the chest or the breast Vulcans right there do not have the gray they need, so you might want to paint these up now. We get some of that nice greeny blue into the equation right here. The shoulder joints are the classic polycap cups. We then use the first of those disco stickers right there in the chest. Yellow chest vent detailing and some white splashes up on the chest there. Finally, we finish off that sticker in there with some of that clear, beautiful green. The neck joint is a classic style polycap. We throw a nice bit of color separated gray plastic on top. The backpack then gets filled in with a whole ton of these joints. 4 to be precise, these are plastic, not polycap. Panel attaches in there, pop on 4 of these vents. And I will mention at this point, we do not have the standard backpack adapter on this kit. So again, it's a little bit on the older side, so it lacks some of the more recent compatibility that you'll see on some kits. As for the actual ab crunch in here, it's very simple. It's just a polycap ball, pops in like so, won't really be doing a whole lot. And finally, we get that plugged on into what we've built so far. So far looking extremely, extremely nice. Oh wait, I also have some arms to pop on like this and like that. So most of the way there. So the last part of the actual mecha itself is the head, and the head turns out quite well. Now this is one of those old style heads where the actual outer armor is all one piece, so it does mean we're not getting any seam lines, but there is a mild, and I mean very mild mold line down the side. Anyway, as for the build, you throw the muzzle onto the red section inside. I usually use that to line up the actual stickers for the eyes. I find it's easier to do this after the muzzle. And then you just slide the helmet section down over it. It is all just one piece, and then the V-fin attaches on. Overall, very nice. 3 stickers, including the eyes and the head cameras. Finally, now popping the head on, and there is the high-grade Gundam X complete. And this looks really, really good. Again, very, very simple, but the looks in the end look great. So moving on into the satellite cannon, and you start off with this little bit of a sliding gimmick down in the barrel end. A little bit of a grey section attaches onto that sliding mechanism then, and then the beam saber attaches into the top, like that. Continuing on with the satellite cannon now, and you use a sticker first. These are 4 big stickers. Thankfully enough, they're easy enough to lay flat and easy enough to line up. They do look really cool when they catch the light, but I will mention there's a nice texture underneath these that you do lose when you do attach them on. You might be able to actually push the sticker into the texture if you want to, but I haven't given it a go. You then throw this little segment on like that, and attach these onto this simple little ABS stem section like so. They overlap each other in a kind of X shape and can close on over each other just like so. This satellite cannon itself attaches on like that. This little gray arm segment pops in like so. Pop together the little minigun section, and then finally all of that just pops onto the backpack over here, and then the satellite cannon over here. So there we go. There is the Gundam complete with its satellite cannon on the back. So jumping right on into the aesthetics, and this right here is what the high-grade Gundam X looks like out of box, and overall not too bad. Now I've done nothing at all on this. This is just a snap build with the included stickers, and that is all. I didn't even use all of the stickers. I didn't use any of the black ones, but they're for primarily on the weapons, not really on the mecha itself, which has turned out incredibly nicely. The overall design of the Gundam X is nice. It's very simple. It's a retelling of the original Gundam in a different format, and it has mixed up the colors in a nice sort of way. For example, we don't have the typical red on the feet. We've got blue, and the colors of the blue and the red on the torso have been shifted around ever so slightly. Overall, very, very nice. A simple build, but the payoff is incredible. Again, if you got some ink into those lines, which are all over the place and do look really good, we've got some pinstripe panel lines here and there. This will be an incredible looking little high-grade kit. I'm very impressed. Zooming in onto the head, and I'm actually surprised Bandai doesn't make these full head molds anymore, because we don't have a single seam line in the head whatsoever. There's a little bit of a mold line, but that'll just take a tiny bit of light sanding to clean up, but besides that, it looks great. The eye stickers, head stickers look good. I will admit I did pan line the muzzle right here just to make sure that pops, but otherwise nothing else is done. The detail looks great. The Gundam X right here is pretty much 98% color accurate from what I can see. The only ones that I can see are missing are the ones missing from the breast Vulcans, which are those little things poking out of its chest right there. Those should be in a grey, which obviously isn't there, which is a little bit on the disappointing side. And I did notice actually one kind of big missing bit of color. I might have to drop that 98% to more like 90%. Those little tube sections on its clavicles are meant to be white on the top, which they are not. That's quite a bit of color missing right in the kind of beauty zone of the Gundam, aka around its face. However, jumping right on into a positive point, we do have those fun little holographic shinies going on inside of this little window section right here, because we do have a sticker in there. That's a nice touch, but it would have been nice to have the white up on the clavicles. The arms on this are done incredibly well also. Pretty much nice, lean, not too much detail overall. The shoulders do have a nice little bit of that purple sandwiched in there, so that is fully color separated. I will mention that this does nub up quite a bit, so you will have to take some care while nipping that out. But I will admit I really like the overall cohesion of the way this purple line runs down the shoulder, down the arm, down the side of the leg, as well as on the side skirts, kind of like the stripes on an Adidas tracksuit. Cool touch. The backpack is very nice, even though that is going to be covered up quite a bit when you do get the satellite cannon attached onto it, but overall looking very, very nice. The hands here are mildly disappointing because all we have is the open fists that are for holding onto things, but because this is a grey hand with a grey back, you can easily buy the sold separately Build Fighters Hands kits for using with this kit, and you'll have every hand you could ever want. The front skirtings are a little bit on the plain side, but that is what the design of the Gundam X is like. We've got the red color up top, but there are some nice fine pan lines there for pan lining up. Same goes around the butt flap, but I did kind of put some harsh side lights so you can actually see that there is some pan lining detail there to also add a little bit more to the plain surfaces. Some nice pan lines on the legs too. Overall, very sleek detail and design on these. Very nice curves, nice angles to complement them. And it is pretty cool to actually see a Gundam with its feet not in red. When you build a lot of Gundams or you see a lot of Gundam designs, it's nice to see the mold getting broken ever so slightly. Overall, impressive kit. So jumping on into a bit of a size comparison, there is the Gundam X beside two standard size Gundams being the RX-78-2 and the Gundam Mark II. Those are the revived versions, by the way, and as you can see, it's a little bit smaller and a lot skinnier, so a lighter unit in general all around. Moving through a few random kits now, and the high-grade Calibarn makes it look extremely small, the high-grade Red Gundam from G-Quax, the high-grade Strike Freedom Gundam, and finally the high-grade Gundam EX, which if you actually try to, read it out, looks like it says Gundam X, so stolen name! So now jumping on into the accessories, and here's everything that comes with the high-grade Gundam X. So it is a little bit of a variation of the sword, board, and beam rifle, but kind of combined. So first off, we do have the satellite cannon. This does have the actual hilt for the large beam sword. There is the beam. We've got two versions of the actual buster rifle in here, or should I say the shield buster rifle. One with the shield tucked away, and one with the shield basically deployed. Lastly then, we do have this little section right here, which is the Vulcan for a round on the back. Now let's check it all out. Like I mentioned before, when it does come to hands in here, there are no options, just this standard kind of fist holding hand. That's all there is in here. Well, for both hands, of course. Next up in here, we've got the shoulder Vulcan. This just attaches in like so, and that right there is what it looks like while attached. So this does have quite a bit of movement. It can flip around like that, or get into this little position right here, and then swing on over the X's shoulder just like so, ready to fire. Next up in here, we've got the satellite cannon. This can do quite a bit. The actual cannon, like we saw, can slide out and in at the end. This section here is for the large beam sword, one of the coolest kind of beam saber style weapons I've ever seen. These sections can flip on open like so. I will admit, beware not to catch the sticker while doing that, because that is a simple enough thing to do. Anyway, it moves open like so. The stickers don't actually have the same level of protection we would see on the master grade, which does have clear parts over them. So that is what they look like open. So shiny and sparkly. This then pops into a resting position on the back of the Gundam X like so. It attaches into a bit of a recessed area on the Gundam's back, giving it the usual Gundam X's overall silhouette. And that is what the high-grade Gundam X looks like with the satellite cannon attached. Now I will mention, I have noticed that there is some very looseness to some of the joints in this kit, so it's kind of giving up underneath the weight of that. If I was using the glass desk like I used to, as opposed to this kind of cutting mat right here, it would definitely be slipping and sliding around. So more of a looser kit, but I'll talk about that a bit more in the articulation. But the weight here is definitely clashing a little bit. As for what this can do, you can pull out this up here, attach in this beam to make the large beam sword. This is a little bit on the bendy off to the side, but you can fix that by heating it up, then cooling it down when you've got it nice and straight. As for getting the satellite cannon into its deployed mode, it's pretty simply just do a little bit of spinny no jutsu, get it right into position, bring it on over, and then you open up the X shape like so. One little bit of a disappointing aspect is there is no twisting mechanism to the actual plates on this, so you do have to pull each one off, flip it around, and stick it back in again. That right there is what it looks like when it is complete, so overall quite nice. These stickers do catch the light very, very nicely, but I will mention they are very easy to lift even through standard touching, so it does mean they may not last so well over time, and the overall posing experience with the kit is quite spongy and loose, so you may need to tighten some aspects up. But speaking of that sort of thing, let's jump right. Wait a minute, I forgot the rifle. But yeah, and here we do have the Buster Shield rifle. It's simple enough. There's actually a lot of building up to the inside, but the shield aspect is quite simple. There's meant to be black detail on this, and that is included as stickers for attaching on. This is just a standard rifle, and there are two versions included. This is the version which is opened up with the shield section pointing out like so, and you can see more into the actual rifle itself underneath. I have no time to attach this on. It is build miss, so I'm focusing on the build, so let's jump right into the articulation. So jump now into the articulation. One thing I did find with this is it's very spongy in the joints, especially the ball joints of the shoulders and the hips. They definitely will need some tightening up. The other joints are still kind of spongy, and what I mean by spongy is whenever you're kind of moving, it just has this kind of bouncy, slow bend kind of feel to it. And when you're trying to like pose one thing, other things will just fall right out of the pose you're trying to put them in. So it doesn't really, whoa, look at him walk, look at him walk, look at him walk, he's going. Yeah, they don't feel great, but that's kind of fun to do. Anyway, let's test out the usual pose. So when it does come to the usual pose, I will say that this was very quick. There's not many moving parts really on this kit, but strangely effective. In the end, it doesn't actually look too bad. This is what I got here out of the pose, and I would say it's average for a high grade. Even, 10 years older than this, a high grade, I would say this is average. It's not too bad. The overall posability and the articulation is nice on this. There's nothing too over the top. There isn't really much in the lines of anything like an ab crunch or anything like that, but you can still get it into nice enough dynamic poses. You're limited quite a bit by the ball joint hips and stuff. The knee bend isn't that much, it's limited to a large degree. Actually, I just think it just happens to pull off the pose reasonably well enough. Yeah, the articulation on this, extremely limited, but again, not the worst by any margin. And it is a very nice looking kit. So anyway, that right there's it for the review, and the high-grade Gundam X is an X Silver tier kit, so not too bad, definitely about average for a high-grade kit. And I would say back in 2010 was definitely very impressive. Overall, aesthetically, this is its strongest aspect. It is a gorgeous looking high grade. It is missing some white on the clavicle zones, as well as some grey on the breast Vulcans, as well as some black on the shield too. But overall, the actual Gundam goes relatively unscathed, but the foundation is here. It is a beautiful silhouette. The Gundam looks great. The head is so nicely sculpted. And all in all I can say is it's a gorgeous looking Gundam. It looks nice, and the shades of color in here are vivid and beautiful. When it comes to the articulation in here, it's about average for an older kit. The ball joint hips and shoulders definitely limited it a lot, and they are quite weak and will need tightening up. It can pull off basic poses, but it's basically just almost right angles at the knees, elbows. There's not much at the neck. The ab crunch, really everything is quite limited, so it is surprising that it can pull off what it can pull off. It does look nice in some poses, but again, this is more one that will look nice standing there as opposed to in a pose. When it comes to the accessories in here, it's quite nice. Nothing great, but nothing awful either. The satellite cannon itself works well. The stickers are a little bit iffy, but they do catch the light nicely. The beam saber, or the large beam sword in here, is very nice. This will glow under blacklight, and the nice big beam and that big handle looks very unique. It is kind of cool that Bandai did include two versions of the actual Buster Shield because they didn't, put a transforming mechanism into it. And I do prefer this as opposed to having a really bad parts formation, so having both is nice, but they are missing a little bit of color. Finally then, when it does come to the build, it's a simple old school build. It's not going to blow your mind, but there's no issues, no fitting issues, very little cleanup needed. It's an old school high grade that gets to the point very quickly with minimal parts, so if you like that sort of thing, then you'd probably throw a little bit more points into this. Just from a kind of review perspective, it's basic, it's old school, and it doesn't really do anything too exciting. I enjoyed it, but again, quite basic. So overall, silver tier, very nice kit. I would say there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, and if you wanted a high-grade Gundam X, definitely go for it. It's not exciting in any kind of way, but it does what it needs to do, and it ticks all of the boxes for the basics. Anyways, always thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more Gunpla reviews, and I'll see you tomorrow in the next one. As always, this video right here and every single video I make would not be possible without each and every one of you guys who watches this video. And special thanks at the end of this video right here to those who support on the channel memberships as well as over on Patreon, including Caleb Engelhart, Joe, OG59061, Scotty Thomas, and Simon.